to another lecture, another lesson in personal finance. Today we're going to focus on the credit crush assignment. So let me jump on over. Welcome, by the way, if you're joining us on YouTube, Facebook. This is the live stream for the actual course in personal finance. I'm Jim Munchback, certified financial planner, and I am the instructor. So if you're a student at the University of Houston at the Bauer College of Business and you're in my course, Personal Finance, you are in the right place. Now I'm going to attempt to jump over into the Zoom room and start the Zoom meeting. Looks like we have a few folks there. I'm going to admit everyone. And welcome aboard if you're in the Zoom room. I would appreciate if you could let me know you can hear me. Hopefully you can hear me. Testing. Hey, Christina, Cassidy, Jason, Cedra, looks like we've got a couple of folks here. Can anybody hear me? If you could just pop in the chat. Good morning. I see a question, Isabella. That is a great question that nobody's asked yet. It's only 10 a.m., so I'm going to give you the opportunity to ask that question since you were first to the punch. Way to go. Let's see. You can hear me? Okay, cool. Isabella, what will the discussion question be? Like at 10 a.m., you're asking. Way to go. So I'll tell you what it is in a minute, okay? Uh, in fact, I'm going to wait until 5 minutes after. Isabella, you win the prize, though, for sure. Thank you for asking. And I will answer the question and you will get the extra 10 points. So again, if you anyone who actually wins this contest, this prize of asking me, being the first to ask me what is the uh, class collaboration assignment, I guess. It's a piece of your assignment, and it's always a mystery. Starting this semester, I decided to make it a mystery because so many students are under the impression that you don't have to pay attention to the Zoom meeting because this is an asynchronous course. You do not have to be here during this meeting, but you do have to you do have to watch the meeting at some point, which is why it's being live streamed to YouTube and Facebook. And this video will be posted in our Facebook soon. In our Not our Facebook. It'll be posted in our YouTube playlist. Sorry, I am back to playing with my new tool. If you recall, I have a new cool tool, and I'm going to be playing Dave Ramsey here in a minute. You see Dave's picture right there. That's my new tool. The little Stream Deck is my new tool, and so I'm having fun with that. Last week we lost internet. I'm so sorry for that. We did lose internet. I was afraid. I was really afraid that we lost internet because of my new technology, because it was the first time I live streamed using this tool. Hey, thanks, Cassidy. If everyone else could do what Cassidy just did, is put in the time that you got here in the chat. I save those chats, and that's kind of my record of those students who are here. You don't really get extra points for being here, but it helps me know who is here. And I appreciate you being here because when you're here, I feel like I'm at least not just talking to this little plastic camera. It's a very expensive plastic camera. It's my iPhone 13 Pro Max. Anyway, who cares? Ava's here. Let me go admit Ava. Hey, Ava. She's joining, so she can't hear yet. But now, Ava, you may be able to hear. Welcome. I'm so glad you're here. But I do have a little bit of bad news for you, Ava. I think were you the winner last week, or was it Christina? I can't remember who won the prize last week, but it has already been taken. Isabella is the winner this week. So, yeah. Good to have you, though, Ava. Let's get back to, okay, it's 10:04. So I am going to, good to be here. I'm glad you're here. So, okay, we're going to get started here in a minute. It's 10:04, so we're going to get started here in just a minute. And I'm going to, I'm going to hit this button and see what happens. So when I hit this button, Ava, you didn't hear this and no one else did, but today we're going to do the Credit Crush assignment. You did part one last week. This week, I'm going to walk you through the actual assignment. Last week was just setup, and I've graded lots of your papers, your homework in Canvas, and you guys have done a great job. So I'm going to spend a little time and go through the assignment with you, the actual assignment. You set it up great. The setup is important. So I'm going to do three things this today. I'm going to try to be done at 11 a.m., which is always my goal. Number one, I'm going to review the assignment with you, and I'm going to show you, try to show you in Right Capital, in the financial planning portal, I'm going to try to show you why this assignment is so important, because it's all about uh, learning how to manage credit and debt. And I want to show you some strategies for eliminating debt in your financial, not just in your financial plan, but in your life. But it helps to illustrate it in your financial plan. So I'm going to use Billy's uh, pretend financial plan, which some of you learned last week is it's kind of a Frankenstein plan, you might say. I add things to it and take things away, and sometimes when I use his plan to illustrate things, you see the mistakes that I have. And so we did a little tutorial video last week just to give you some clarification on the mortgage. But anyway, we'll jump into Billy's plan. That's one of the things we'll do so that I can show you how these debt strategies work. You will be doing the same thing in your plan, but I'll show you today in this lesson. That's one of the things we'll do. I'll review the assignment. I'll show you how it works in the Right Capital plan. And I'm also going to kind of review Dave Ramsey and Dave Ramsey's approach to credit and debt. So I might go ahead and just do that first, and then we'll cover the assignment. So you may or may not know Dave Ramsey, but Dave Ramsey is someone who teaches a lot about debt and credit. And for many years, this course included Dave Ramsey's curriculum for college. It was called Foundations, and that's what I taught. And one of the things that I began to do early on is just to encourage students each semester to have some goals, some very specific things that you want to do. And one of them is what Dave's approach to build an emergency fund. So as you're watching this kind of screen show, I put together some of the things that I've been teaching over the years that we taught from Dave Ramsey's course, his fundamentals, foundations rather. Anyway, Dave has some very strong opinions about debt and credit. One of them is just no new debt. So we're going to talk about some of the things Dave talks about, and you'll see them on the screen. And my face, you'll see, is not there because if I put my face up, you won't get to see the title. So there's a cash envelope system, which is something that frankly I think would be a disaster for me. Now this one, build an emergency fund, is huge, and I encourage you and I hope that you will build an emergency fund. It's so important. It's a fundamental principle of personal finance, and you need to do that. Before you start to invest and build wealth, you really have to focus on what we're going to talk about today, which is your debt, getting rid of your debt and accumulating some savings. And so that's what this lesson is about. We've talked about credit scores and credit reports, and one of the things Dave is very kind of focused on is not being obsessed by your credit score. Credit it's a product, not a privilege, and it's a product we're going to talk about today. So here goes Dave's ideas about credit cards. Dave is not a big fan, as you know, of credit cards. And there you see his picture popping up every once in a while with the big scissors. That is Dave's approach to credit: is cut up your credit cards, get rid of your credit cards, don't have credit, and live debt free. That whole debt-free lifestyle is Dave's kind of trademark. That's what he's marketed. And I have some images of Dave with a $200 million net worth. Dave has made a tremendous living selling this idea. And one of his approaches is a very simple plan that we're going to talk about. And I want you to know the 7 baby steps. And each of those baby steps has a fundamental principle of personal finance that's super easy to follow. And building an emergency fund is one of those steps in the baby steps. And I hope you appreciate those baby steps as much as I do. Uh, so anyway, Dave, again, no new debt. That's something that Dave really focuses on. And he's not hugely, he doesn't want you to be too focused on your credit scores, although I think, this is one of the things that, by the way, Isabella, this is, wait for it, wait for it. I'm about to tell you what we're going to have as the class collaboration for this week. Debit cards is Dave's approach. He says use debit cards. I don't even own a debit card. Uh, the envelope thing, like I said, it would be a disaster for me. So that's really what I want to know this week in the class collaboration is Dave's advice about credit cards is something that is kind of unique to Dave. He's very focused on eliminating debt, getting rid of credit cards. And that's what I want you to talk about a little bit this week in your class collaboration. Just tell me what you think. How do you feel about not having any credit cards? I think I know how many of you feel. Some of you have shared your ideas with me and your pushback about Dave Ramsey's approach. It is a little controversial, but on the other hand, Dave's baby steps, Dave's very simple, fundamental approach to financial planning with these baby steps is really helpful. It's simple. It's a solid plan. If you had to only have one plan, these baby steps would be a great way for you to get started. And the first one is just save $1,000 for a starter emergency fund. And I hope you will do that. I hope that you will make that your commitment this semester to decide that you're going to do that you're going to save at least $1,000 for your emergency fund. It's a very simple and helpful approach to personal finance. So that is something that I hope you will do. Number 2 is just pay off all your debt, except for your mortgage if you happen to have a mortgage. And this, again, is something that I think is pretty helpful. And it's part of the 7 baby steps. Hey, way to go, Isabella. You're all ears. I like that. Okay, cool. You can't see the comments. If you're in the Zoom room, you can see the comments, but if you're not, you're missing out. So baby step number 3, this is where we build a fully funded emergency fund, and we'll talk a little bit more about that as we move forward in the course. But the $1,000 is a great start. It's just not exactly the end of the game. So you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to try to jump over here, and I want to see if I can play a little music as we go. I like the guitar music. Let me know what you think. Do you hear the music? Do you like the music? I'm trying to get back to... There we go. Okay, babies, you're watching the baby steps as we go there. This one is kind of a little scary for some people. The 15% of your gross household income towards retirement. We're going to talk about that goal later in the semester, and it's one that I promise you it's not going to be difficult. I'm going to show you how it's not going to be difficult. And this one may be relevant for those of you who want to have a family, or maybe it's for me, it's my grandkids. I should show you a picture. I will show you a picture of Caleb and Maddie, but not right now. So, this fifth step is all about saving for college. And it's another of the 7 baby steps that if you have kids or grandkids, it's great. Number 6, this one is, maybe not for everybody. So many people that I know don't want to pay off their mortgage. And my wife wanted to pay off our mortgage a few years back. And I was not really into it because, well, it didn't seem to make sense since the mortgage interest is a tax deductible expense. But we did that and we became totally debt free. And that takes us to baby step number 7, where we have the opportunity to just build wealth. After we got rid of our mortgage payment, it was kind of crazy how quickly we were able to build, our net worth because we were able to save it instead of put it into the mortgage. Building wealth and giving generously, that's probably a trademark that Dave, one of the things I really appreciate about Dave. So anyway, these 7 baby steps, again, just kind of in summary, they're a really helpful, simple, solid plan, and they're easy to apply. Now, his philosophy, it really emphasizes living within your means, of avoiding debt, and there is a little controversy. Dave's controversy is just simply that he avoids credit. Again, there he is with his scissors cutting up credit cards, and that's why I'm interested in what you think about that specific part of Dave's philosophy and his approach and his whole kind of marketing. Dave is a master marketer, and his methods, though, they work. I spent some time in Dave's office working with his team over the years. Like I said, I have been teaching his material in college and in the community. I teach financial peace. I haven't taught it in a while. I'll talk more about that later, but Financial Peace University was something that I taught for many years in my church, a couple of churches. So it's impacted a lot of people. Now, Dave's credit, this is just kind of a summary of Dave's credit card approach to credit cards, and kind of another review of, looks like a duplicate here. I think maybe so here's one, the debt snowball. If you're not sure what that is, it's one of Dave's approaches to removing or eliminating debt. And we're going to talk about that when we go through Billy's plan. I want to just show you how that works and why it's controversial, a little controversial. Obviously, living on a budget is key, and you should be this semester tracking all of your spending. I showed you how you can do that in Right Capital, or you can do it in mint.com. Your bank app probably has a pretty good feature for budgeting, but it's a really important part of Dave's approach and the baby steps. And again, the cash flow envelope system, that's another one that I would like to hear your comments on. You can comment on any of Dave's principles that you're seeing here, his approach to financial planning. I'm just curious, what do you think? Like, what is it about Dave's principles, his process, his approach, his 7 baby steps, his philosophy about credit cards, any of that? I want to know what you think. Just think about it. You can go back. I'm going to post this video, and you'll be able to see it in your playlist. So you can just watch it and take a screenshot and talk about whatever it is, whichever one of these things, these principles that you see. Do you like it? Does it make sense to you? Is it something you want to do in your plan? That's what I want to know from you. And you can leave comments in YouTube, Facebook, in Money Study Group. You can tweet it, whatever you like to do to communicate your thoughts and your kind of reactions to Dave Ramsey's approach. Any of his approach, He's quite the character. If you don't listen to Dave, he's quite the character. So I'm going to go ahead and stop Dave for now, and I think we've covered it. I think we're actually looping that video again, so we don't need to do that. Anyway, I hope that was helpful. I do think it is helpful, Dave Ramsey's approach, his plan, the 7 baby steps. I want you to learn those. You've already taken a little quiz, but I know how easy it is to forget the things that you learn that could be so helpful and so valuable. And you learn them and then you forget them. And that's what we do as human beings. We learn it and we forget it. And it's there, but that knowledge does you no good at all if you're not actually doing it. Like starting with the first baby step. Will you do it? Will you take the initiative? Will you make the commitment to save $1,000? I know some of you have, and you're getting really close, or you just hit it. Isabella, way to go. That's not TMI. That's like, thank you for sharing that. Man, that's a huge step. And while it may be a baby step, it's a huge step. So I hope you'll do that. And I hope you'll follow the 7 baby steps all the way through. And then you can take that to the next level. As you start to earn and you start to develop your own wealth and you build wealth, there's more to financial planning, I think, than the 7 baby steps. But the 7 baby steps are a great way to start. So now let's jump into the lesson. And somebody leave a comment. Do you guys like the music? Can you hear the music? Is it a distraction? Is it help? It's the guitar music. I selected the guitar music, but I have all kinds of things. If you like it, yeah, that was fun. Now, I'm about to jump into the assignment and review the assignment with you. So, can't hear the guitar music. Did you hear you don't hear the guitar music? Do you hear the drum roll, Ava? Well, that's good. I'm hearing the guitar music, so I'm going to stop the guitar music if I can find it. And then I'll get back to work. I'm sorry for my... I'm having a little trouble here. All overlays. Sorry. Maybe I'll just stop playing around now and get to work. Okay, let's get to work. So the assignment, you see the assignment. You did the work last week. You did the setup. So your financial plan and right capital should be ready. So this week's assignment, this is just a review of the assignment. You'll see this in the assignment. I want to scroll down to right here. We have your living expenses. And we're going to keep coming back to living expenses because honestly, a lot of, my experience has been that you are just really starting to discover the the reality of what it costs to live. Living expenses are generally much more than you may know, more than you understand, because most of you haven't been paying for those expenses. And so one of my hopes in this lesson, in this semester, is for you to really start to I want you to start to step into the adulting world of being responsible for your finances. And since you're not really there yet, many of you are still in college, you're still receiving lots of benefits from parents, scholarships, government, student loans, whatever, grants. And that's awesome. But what I want to do is try to transpose you, what is the word? Take you to that place where you get to start thinking about your life and your actual reality of cost of living. And so these categories, you can change these in your plan, by the way. These are just the default categories that I think that we're seeing in Billy's plan. And again, if you do link your accounts, if you link your credit cards, your debit cards, and all of your accounts, just like you would do in mint.com, if you do that in Right Capital, you'll have access to the budgeting tool and spending. It'll show all the transactions. So I'll show you that in a minute. But this is a basic screen. I want you to see this because your plan has a detailed expense, living expense. And I want you to spend time on this throughout the semester. I want this to be top of mind for you to think about what is your burn rate? What is it that you have in your life that costs money? And I want you to do that in the context of now that you're out of college, you've graduated, and you have begun to pay your own bills. So that's what this screen is, and I'm going to show it to you multiple times because moving forward, we are into the building your financial plan phase, and that's what we're going to do for the rest of the semester. And when we get to your capstone assignment, everything we talk about moving forward each week, each assignment will build onto your capstone assignment, which is worth 200 points. And so as you do your assignments, I still want to encourage you to do them early so you get the extra 10 points. But if you do that and you get the assignments pretty close to being right, and you don't get deductions, then what's going to happen at the end of the semester when we get to the capstone assignment is you're just going to take each of the elements that you built into your financial plan and you're going to create a capstone report, which is really just a representation of your plan with each of those elements of financial planning that we built on throughout the semester. So I want you to feel really confident about your ability to get those 200 points in the capstone assignment without really a lot of extra effort if you're willing to put in a little effort now and each week throughout the semester. So again, moving forward, we're focusing on your capstone assignment by building your financial plan in Right Capital using the things that I'm going to teach you in each of these lessons moving forward. And today it's the credit crush, so we're going to talk about that. So this is the assignment. You should have bought that awesome car, and you should have financed it. And I'm going to show you a few things in Billy's plan here in a minute, just to show you what I'm looking for when I grade this week's assignment. So anyway, this is the assignment. I do want to show you. I'm going to show you. Well, first, let me talk about the big idea. And this really is important, and it is the big idea. So I'm going to take a minute. We have a few minutes. We have plenty of time. So just kind of, I know you can't enjoy the music because you can't hear it, but I can hear it. I'll fix that for next time because you might enjoy it too. But the big idea of the Credit Crush assignment is really to understand the cost of credit. When I first started teaching this lesson, when I first started teaching this course, I've told this story 100 times, and I don't know, I'm not telling the story as much, or as don't spend as much time telling the story, but it's a fun story to tell. It's a story about Billy and Sally and an experience that I had when I first started teaching this course where Billy was this dude that I met at a Firestone, and he was getting his vehicle, he was getting tires for his truck. He had an F-150 truck, and I met him there, and I got to watch the transaction, and he met this girl named Sally, and as you see in the images, Billy and Sally, they ended up getting together. They ended up living together, and he moved out of his mom and dad's house. He was working at a plant, and he went to San Jac. Billy was a young guy who was living at home making good money, and he bought this used F-150, took it to Firestone to get some tires, had a coupon to get. He's really smart, frugal young guy, and I'm like getting ready to teach this course, and so I was interested in just his story. And, so I watched as he met Sally. She was the super sales lady there at Firestone, and she helped him understand what's possible if he would have upgraded his tires from those cheap tires that he had the coupon for to some really nice bigger wheels, bigger tires, bigger wheels. And then he had to do some work on his truck because it needed an alignment. It had some front end work that needed to be done. And anyway, by the time he walked out of there, he had about a $2,500 bill that was going to be put on credit. And it was put on credit for with this thing that I used to tell in the story. Every time I told this story, I would ask the question, like, if you were Billy and you just went to Firestone and you went there to buy tires and they ended up selling you all this other stuff, and you like had this idea in your head, if you're Billy, that, hey, this good looking lady is convincing me that if I take this truck and I convert it, I transform it, I make it better, then really what's happening is I'm going to look good. And looking good was really what Sally was selling Billy. And Billy wanted to look good, especially to Sally. And so the idea of looking good is a consumer idea that is very expensive. And yet we spend a lot of our time and a lot of our money trying to look good and not look bad. And that applies to our vehicles and our houses and our clothes and, you know, where we spend our vacations and a lot of things that we do that we really do because we want to look good and we don't want to look bad. And that's what the story of Billy and Sally was part about. It was about consumerism and how Billy could have went and bought the tires. He had the money to pay cash, but instead he upgraded everything because Sally was really good at helping him see what's possible in his life if he was just, you know, willing to make this small investment with 6 months same as cash and low monthly payments and nothing down, instant credit. And Billy took it all. It was credit, the product that allowed Sally to sell and make her commission. And it was credit that let Billy get into the trap that I'm going to show you in a minute. Because what happened is Billy and Sally got together and Billy didn't pay off that 6 months same as cash. So at the end of the 6 months, he had all of the interest accrue, and his payment was a minimum payment. And once he started paying the minimum payment, I'm going to show you in a minute, it didn't reduce the balance, it increased. The balance of his credit card continued to increase, and the interest increased. And so that's the big idea. The big idea of this lesson, Credit Crush, is that when you use debt, credit cards, or credit accounts, a lot of times you can get in a situation where you're actually never going to get out of debt. And the credit card companies love you to be that person. And so I was that person some time ago. And my wife, let me see if I'm going to try and show you something. I don't know if this is going to work, but I'm going to try. There we go. That's my wife, Connie. Connie and I were married, and she is like the most frugal person you'll ever meet. Connie was, she did not like credit. She didn't like that. But when we got married, I made the money. She was pregnant. She had a baby. We had a baby. And during that time of our life, I was making really good money. Still in college, I was a master mechanic, and I was making more money than most of my friends. But problem was I was spending it, and I felt like I deserved to buy stuff. So as we, graduated from college, got a house, I put a lot of things on credit. And when I wanted something, I found that it was, even though I didn't have the money to pay for it right now, I could put it on a credit account. And my wife Connie started to see how the credit was, we were getting deeper and deeper in debt. And so she showed me how it worked, and I was like embarrassed, and I was upset, I was angry. And so, she decided we'd go on a spending freeze. And that's a whole nother story I'll tell you another time. But that's my wife, Connie. That's Billy and Sally. And that's what the big idea is. When I discovered how much I was spending on credit interest and fees, it made me really understand that I didn't want to do that. And my wife is the one who helped me understand it. And I hope I can help you understand it. And that's what the big idea is in this lesson. So that's the lesson. You're going to see that in Canvas. But for now, let me jump on over to, I am going to now, if I can do this, let's see what happens. Okay, that didn't work so well. Hold on, give me just a second. And I'm going to jump over here. I'm going to try to, well, I guess what I'll do is I will go into Billy's plan here. I'm just going to jump into Billy's plan. I wanted to do this using my computer instead of I'm using my iPad right now. And the problem with using my iPad, it just doesn't work as well. We'll see if it works. Hopefully it does. I'm going to go to Billy. By the way, while I'm pulling up Billy's plan, I want to say I'll jump into Billy's plan and we'll play with his debt. First, I'll go to profile. This is you guys, most of you are really getting familiar with navigating the plan. I got the wrong plan here. Here's Billy's plan. Okay, it looks like I need to see. I've got a setting wrong here. We'll just go with it. Most of you are getting really good at navigating your plan. It looks like some of you are a little late to the game, just now completing your first 6 data cards. If you're one of those folks who have just now completed one of your 6 data cards, you're probably one of those students who's not really on target to get an A in the course because you're behind. But most of you are not behind. You're doing really well, and I'm assuming that you have a pretty good grasp of the navigation of your plan, and that's what I'm showing you right there. So the upper navigation and the lower navigation, that helps me kind of figure out where I need to go in the plan. And I do this all day, every day. I know you don't. This is just one part of your life. But I hope that helps just to think of the upper navigation and the lower navigation, because when you go from profile to dashboard, for example, you see there are 6 different lower navigations. And those happen to be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Let me see. So when you go to profile, you'll see those are the initial data cards you filled out. And net worth is where you add all of your accounts, you link your cards. Family is where you have you. And so anyway, that's just hopefully when I bounce around in this plan, I don't want you to feel lost. So I just wanted to kind of highlight the navigation for a minute. So what we're going to do now is I'm going to go to 3 upper tabs just so you can see. We've got profile, we've got dashboard, and then in the middle we have retirement. Retirement is one of the places that you're going to be focusing your time and energy and attention throughout the course. So I just wanted to kind of highlight that. Profile, dashboard, and retirement. Those are the 3 major upper navigation tabs that we'll be using. So let's do this. You see the lower navigation when we're in dashboard, you see debt. That's where we're going to go today. That's where the Credit Crush assignment happens for you, is dashboard debt. So when we go to debt, this is the most important screenshot you're going to take. So what I've done is I've got Billy's plan with no strategies applied. And now I'm going to go to, you see the action items. And by the way, I'm on my iPad, but you can do this with your mouse too. You can just see how much debt he's accumulating. That's what that big mountain is debt. So he's got a lot of debt. Now, honestly, Billy's plan is similar to some of your plans. What's going to happen is, because you're very young, and many of you, and because I instructed you to go buy a house buy that dream car and put a lot of money on your credit card. By the time you do this assignment, you're going to see some numbers that are really probably not very realistic, which is what we're going to see right now with Billy. And that's just part of that's a drawback. It's not a feature, it's a bug. Anyway, it is what it is. I want you just to know what's behind those numbers so that when you get into actually managing your plan after the semester, you're going to go back to your normal age and you're going to start putting in your normal, correct data. But for now, you're 10 years older, you're making a good income, and you're spending a lot of money, kind of like I did when I got out of college. I made good money, but I spent a lot of money. And I learned from my wife what I'm trying to teach you now, and that's what these are going to be. These strategies that I'm going to teach you, what they're going to be is my lesson to you, my instruction to you for how to manage debt and get rid of debt, just like Dave Ramsey was talking about. Now, first I'm going to show you, I want to make sure you saw how I did that. So again, we're in dashboard and we went to debt. We're not in, if I go to profile and then I go to net worth, this is where you added your accounts. This is where you added your property. This is where you added your mortgage account, your car loan. And I'm not going to spend a lot of time here reviewing that because you pretty much did that. But that's where all of these assets and liabilities are added to your plan. And this is where you would edit them and change them. And so I've already covered, like we talked about the loans here. I'm looking at his mortgage, and this is where someone, I can't remember who, someone pointed out that there was an error here, the original amount and the balance, and it was wrong, and I changed it. But this is what your plan should have, is a data card for your mortgage. And it should have all of these little fields included, as well as this primary home. Now, if you have property, and this is something I see as a common mistake, I just want to mention it before we get into the Credit Crush assignment. So this is primary home, and you see rent or own. Many of you in your plan, you haven't changed this to own. If you don't change this data card, primary home, everybody has a primary home, and your plan, your Rent Capital plan, is assuming that you're renting or you own. So nobody gets to live for free according to Rent Capital, and so that's true for you. So primary home, you rent or you own, and don't forget to change that to own. Because if you don't change that, then when you get to the loan part, link to asset, whoop, that's the wrong, that's Billy's car loan. So I want to go to Billy's home mortgage. And when I go to Billy's home mortgage, you can see that it's connected to his primary home. And that won't be there for you if you're a renter. And so that's important. Excuse me. Okay, let's jump. So I just wanted you to see where that is, because all of these pieces of the puzzle will impact your plan. So from profile net worth, that's where all the assets and all the liabilities get added just by going here, and you should know how to do that by now. So now what I want to do is I'm going to jump over to dashboard. We're going to go to debt, and I'm going to show you what's going on. Again, at the bottom, when you go to this navigation, dashboard, debt, you'll see these action items. And when you get to the action items, you'll see this right here, payment priority. That's what you're looking for, because this is really how simple this assignment is. First, I'm going to start with lowest to highest balance, and I'm going to hit refresh. And now, what happens? It shows that Billy and Sally, in their plan, they're going to be debt-free 530 months sooner by using this strategy, and they're going to save that number is ridiculous. And it's because, like I mentioned earlier, I have done a lot of things with Billy's plan. I'm going to show you why that number is ridiculous. It's $1 billion. That's $1 billion of savings. That's kind of crazy. Hopefully, you see that, because that's one of the things that will give you a deduction in your capstone assignment, and it will also give you, you may not get a deduction in this week's assignment, but you will get a deduction if you have a number like that, $1 billion savings, and you don't comment on it. Now, if you're 25 years old, or say, yeah, let's say that you're 30 years old, because now you've changed your age to be 10 years older, because we're pretending that you graduated from college and you're earning money and you have these new bills. And now you go and do this assignment and you find out that, wow, you're having this amazing, huge number of savings. It's because you have big debts and you have big interest rates, and and what I'm about to show you, that it will start to make sense. But just know, this is the point I'm trying to make. If you have a huge number of savings like that, that's $1 billion. I hope you know that $1 billion is a ridiculous number for you to have in your plan for savings. That means something's weird in your plan. And in Billy's plan, something is weird. But what we've just done is we've changed, instead of paying the same priority for everything. In other words, Billy's just going to pay whatever the minimum payments are, like most people would. Instead of doing that, he's going to have a strategy, and he's going to go with the lowest to the highest balance. Now, it's important that you understand that means this is basically, okay, this is the snowball effect Dave Ramsey talks about. Because what Dave Ramsey talks about is the snowball effect. It's a psychological thing. Now, it's obviously also a financial planning thing that works better than no strategy. But the problem with the snowball strategy is it's a psychological thing. It's designed to take the smallest balance and pay it off, because you get to see progress in your plan more quickly, and that gives you more motivation and confidence to know that this strategy is working. So it's a great strategy, and in a lot of plans, it's as good as any other strategy. But in some plans, I'll show you, well, it may not illustrate great, but just think about it. If you have the opportunity to pay off loans with higher interest rates, even though you're not getting you're not getting progress as quickly, you still have long term a better outcome. And that's why some people say Dave's strategy is flawed, because he's using the smallest balance instead of the largest interest rate. But I'm telling you, you do what works for you, and it will work for you. It's a strategy that works because you believe in it and you're willing to do it, and you recognize that it's actually going to work, and it will work. Once you pay those small loans off, then you take the amount that you used to pay in that small balance and you apply it to the next larger account, and you pay that one off. And that's what we're talking about here. So we're basically paying off the smallest balance, and then once that's done, we're taking the money and we're paying off the next balance. So you can see Billy and Sally have a tremendous number of pieces of debt and credit. And that's one reason why their results are so redonkulous with $1 billion of savings, because they have more debt than most people would have. But here's what you will see in your plan as well. You've got this tab. You see these 3 tabs: payment, details. I want you to be familiar with them, because that's where you're going to go. If you see a redonkulous number like this, $1 billion, I want you to be able to go in and say, okay, let's see, why is that? So here's what we have. This is a summary of all of Billy and Sally's debt. And you can see there the amounts, you can see the interest rates. And this is one thing I want you really to pay attention to. Because on your car, Sally's Tesla right now has an interest rate of 9.2%. Sally bought that Tesla a while back. So that interest rate may not be available for you when you buy your Tesla today. I don't know exactly what kind of credit you could get for your Tesla, but that's one of the things I want you to do a little research and figure out. This is one of the things that has dramatically changed from really just a couple of semesters ago until today is the amount that you're going to pay if you go out and you get a credit card or a car loan or a mortgage. The interest rates have gone up a lot. And so I want you to pay attention to that. That's your homework assignment, is to not just say, okay, I'm going to buy a house, I'm going to figure out how much I can spend to buy the house, but you have to figure out how much can you afford to spend on a house with interest rates where they are today. Same with the car. And it doesn't really matter. This is pretend credit for you. And the whole point is for you to learn how this works in your plan so that you can see how it works and illustrate it for yourself. But that's what I want you to pay attention to, because as you do that, as you illustrate the impact of credit and the interest payments and the fees on your plan, this is where you're going to see the actual inputs to your plan. So make sure you have entered those correctly. And if they're not correct here on this page, what you have to do is go back to profile, and you have to go back to the actual liability, the loan, and that's where you make the changes. So I'm going to go back to dashboard, I'm going to go to debt, I'm going to go to action items. So we've already done that. We've said lowest to highest. Now I want to just play around and say, let's look at the payments. Okay, I can see the payments. Let's look at the details. So let's just start with, here's what I want to show you first, though. Go back to strategy, and I'm going to put it back to where it's all the same. And this is what my wife, Connie, helped me understand. So now if I go to details, and let's say Billy's truck, it's a crazy truck. Let's not go to the truck. Let's go to Sally's Tesla. So in each of these cases, they're paying off. I'm looking for one. There we go. So in most cases, their payment is sufficient. Their minimum payment is sufficient to eventually pay off the loan. But here's one, and this is what my wife showed me, that many of our accounts were set up with a minimum payment that was not enough to ever pay off the balance. And that's what we have here with Billy's Chase credit card. So you can see that his interest is beginning balance, 23 grand, and this is in 2024, is 22 grand, and his interest is 3 grand, and his payment's 27. So you should be able to see right away what's happening with this piece of credit. It is going to increase his ending balance. And the reason for that is because his balance and his interest, every month that interest gets added to the balance, and then he makes a payment. And in this case, the payment that he's making, the credit card company is super happy to let him make a minimum payment that will never, ever get him out of debt. And that's what they really want. They want customers who are happy to do this, where they just keep paying more and more and more, because the payment stays the same, but look at what happens to the interest that they're getting. And that's what this illustrates. The big idea of this lesson, the credit crush, is when you have debt, a piece of credit, where you're not paying attention to how much you're paying in interest and what's happening to your balance, that's how you get buried in debt. That's how you get buried in debt. And there are a lot of people who are buried in debt. And that's what Billy and Sally are. They're buried in debt. So to get unburied out of debt, we go back to the strategy and we say, okay, now we're going to pay off lowest to highest. Let's just do that one and see what happens. Now I'm going to go back to the uh, details, and I'm going to look at Billy's credit card, and look at that. What we did now, right? Capital, the financial planning portal. It's really smart. It's like artificial intelligence almost. It's so smart. It's smart enough to know that this is a small balance, but it's a balance that we're going to pay off. So we basically take all of our extra money and we pay off this credit card, and that has a huge impact on Billy and Sally's financial future because it's paid off in 1 year. It's a small balance. And so that's that when we can look at all of them and we can see what happens to uh, Billy's car, his truck. I think I showed you a picture of Billy's truck. It's a pretty cool vehicle. But when we use this strategy, this is a relatively small balance, so it gets knocked out in 2025. So let's look at Sally's Tesla. That one gets paid off again. So let's see, what are we doing as far as, so we're not paying any additional interest. What we're doing is we're paying off the smallest balances first. Now let's just see what happens if we change the strategy. It's probably not going to make a lot of difference in this plan. If we go highest to lowest interest rate, and this is what I want you to do in your plan. I want you to play with these. I want you to experiment a little bit. So yeah, it doesn't do anything differently because we really, in this plan, we have so much debt that any strategy is going to give us a ridiculously good result. But I hope you get to understand and see that even though this plan is probably not a great plan to illustrate this, it does give you the details so you can go back and when you work on your plan, you'll have the ability to do the same thing here. So this is paying off the highest interest rate first. So let's go back and see where is the highest interest rate. Sally's Wells Fargo. What's the lowest interest rate? She has a signature card with 0 interest rate. I'd say that's a mistake. And that one probably never gets paid off. Let's go see what happens to that 0 interest rate. Wells Fargo. I'm not sure how they're doing that. I may have to do a little more research on this one, but oh, that's it. Okay, so this is the one with no interest rate. And you can see this one just kind of hangs around for a while because we used the highest interest rate first. And if we go to what was the highest interest rate? It was Billy's credit card. And so that gets paid off first. So those are the strategies. And again, if you don't change your strategy, if you pay the same priority for all of your debts, then you're going to be paying the minimum. Okay, let's see, what am I doing wrong? Same priority. I'm trying to hit refresh. There we go. You do have to hit refresh. And that brings us back to this screen, the before screen, and that's what you're going to be producing in your plan. So that is pretty much it for this lesson. I hope that helps. If you have any questions, I'm going to hang around in the Zoom room, answer any questions you might have. I don't see any questions, so I am going to go over to the live stream, and I'm going to end that, and then I'll come right back to the Let me put Billy's picture up there, Billy and Sally. So I'm going to jump on over to finish the stream. If you've been with us on YouTube and Facebook, be sure to leave a comment to let me know you watched. And you're welcome to leave your class collaboration for this week's lesson in your comments on Facebook or YouTube or Inside Money Study Group, which is probably what most people are more comfortable with, but I love it when I see your comments out there on the worldwide internet. You're welcome to do that. Leave a comment. It lets me know you're watching, and it fulfills your class collaboration component for this week. Okay, so if you have any questions, you're welcome to leave a comment if you're watching on YouTube at 2 o'clock in the morning or Facebook. But do know this, if you leave a question in a comment, there's no guarantee you're going to get an answer. You should jump on over to GroupMe, post your question, let another student answer. If you're not getting your questions answered in GroupMe, you know what to do. Hopefully you know what to do. Reach out to me and I'll get you an answer. Thanks for watching. I'm going to end the